Hey guys, this is God of Politics. I'm going to a brand new video, but before we get started with this video, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. We are now just 57 subscribers away from 1,000, which is my goal. Can you help me reach it? We are getting very, very close. We've gotten 189 subscribers in the last 28 days, which is a very high number for me. So I'm hoping that we can reach 1,000 very, very soon. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the 2022 Senate election in the state of Wisconsin. Now, this is going to be one of the biggest Senate elections, probably not the biggest. I expect the biggest to be Pennsylvania or Georgia or New Hampshire, but Wisconsin's certainly going to be very big as well. And it could be very big depending on whether, a candidate runs, being Ron Johnson, being someone like Ron Kind, Mark McCann, whether, whoever's going to run for that race. So we do have Ron Johnson, who is the current senator from the state of Wisconsin. He was first elected in 2010, beating incumbent Russ Feingold. He then won in 2016, beating Russ Feingold again. That was a rematch, and he won by 4 percentage points. Looking at the 2016 presidential map, Trump won by 0.7 percentage points. Ron Johnson won that race by, an even larger margin, winning by 3.4 percentage points. You can see he did very, very well in the WOW counties, and he did much worse in the Driftless area compared to Trump. You can see these red counties here, which were blue for Russ Feingold, because Russ Feingold did have a lot of appeal to areas that Democrats historically have had much more appeal, but, he did worse in areas like Waukesha County, where Ron Johnson got 67.9% of the vote. Trump only got 60% of the vote, winning it by 26.7 percentage points. Ron Johnson winning it by 37.7 percentage points. If Ron Johnson had not done as well here, it would have been a much closer race, and that is the area that Trump lost ground in 2020, and that's part of the reason that he lost the state of Wisconsin overall. I pointed out yesterday or 2 days ago that if Trump had gotten Leah Vukmir's numbers in Waukesha County, Trump would have won the state because, while Tammy Baldwin won by, 10 percentage points overall, she actually didn't do that well in the WOW counties compared to Joe Biden, who had much more suburban appeal. So, that's one of the areas that's going to matter a lot. But Ron Johnson, he is a potential candidate. He said, originally that he wasn't going to run, then he said that he was going to run, and then most recently he said he's leaning towards not running. He said his original assumption was that he would run because of the fact that, he thought that there'd be a Republican Senate, maybe a Republican president, maybe a Republican House, but now he's saying, with a Democratic trifecta and a chance that that continues going into 2023, or at least a Democratic Senate, then, he's less inclined to run. I would lean to him not running. Before he made that statement, I was actually leaning towards him running, but now I would slightly lean to say he's not running. I don't necessarily think this is a job he really wants anymore. But, there are certainly other candidates that could run for the Republican Party. You've got Mike Gallagher, who is a representative from Wisconsin's 8th District, Sean Duffy from Wisconsin's 7th District, and Brian Steele from Wisconsin's 1st District. Now, in the Democratic primary, we've got a number of different candidates who could run. Some have announced, some are potential, some have declined. Now, I pointed out Mark McCann. He did decline. Maybe there's a chance he would change his mind if Ron Johnson does retire, but I am leaning towards no. I think that's probably unlikely, but you never know with these kinds of things. Steve Bullock said for a long time he wouldn't run, and then he ended up running, so we'll see what happens. So we've got declared candidates: Gillian Bettino, radiologist; Alex Lastry, senior vice president of the Milwaukee Bucks; and Tom Nelson, Outagamie County. I don't really know how to pronounce that. He was the former majority leader of the Wisconsin Assembly, nominee for lieutenant governor of Wisconsin in 2010, and nominee for Wisconsin's 8th Congressional District in 2016. Now, I don't know too much about this guy. I'm actually surprised that he was the majority leader of the Wisconsin Senate, because he is a Democratic Party. You look at the current Wisconsin Senate, the Wisconsin Assembly, we can look at this here. You got 60 Republicans, 30 Democrats. It is very, very gerrymandered, but he is running, and there actually was a internal poll released which showed him up by 4 percentage points against Ron Johnson. Now, I know it's an internal poll. We effectively have to throw this one in the garbage, but I did still want to talk about it because it is a poll, probably very off, lots of undecideds, an internal poll from a bad polling company, but I still do want to bring it up. But, in 2016, you obviously had the polls were very off as well. You had 538, which gave Russ Feingold almost an 82% chance of winning, showing that he would win by around 3.9 percentage points. And really, Ron Johnson, for much of this campaign, had a very, very low chance of winning this election. And while it got closer at the end, he only had an 18% chance, because you look at these polls, only one I can see here actually showed Ron Johnson up, and it was SurveyMonkey. And, you look at some of these polls. A poll in October showed Russ Feingold up 19 points. Another one showed him up 12 points. Even these closer polls like Marquette showed him up 1. That was still 5 points off from the actual result. The only poll that really showed him up by a decent amount other than SurveyMonkey was this poll from Loras College, who I've actually never heard of. But, that was a 45-40 poll in October. Lots of undecideds. Really, you look at these polls right before the election, none of them even showed it close to what the actual result was. And some of them are just abysmally off. Abysmally. I mean, they were just really terrible polls. Wisconsin overall was terrible in 2016, and they were just as bad for the Senate race. But in 2022, it's going to be very hard to trust polls, given how off they were in 2016, given how off they were in 2020. But, I did still want to talk about that poll. So we do have some endorsements, not really any main things. We do look at the predictions from Cook Political Report, having it at Lean R, Inside Elections having it as, quote, battleground, and Sabato's Crystal Ball having it at Lean R. It does have this Change Research poll here showing Tom Nelson up by 4 percentage points. It also has it here. Again, it's a Democratic internal poll that was done from March 25th to March 27th, but, it is still something that they did want to focus on. So again, points out here who's done by the campaign. Usually that's going to overestimate them. Plus you have the fact that it's Wisconsin, probably going to overestimate them even more. So, we look at that. And, I always do like to do this, looking at the effect of this overall. Now I've got all the, not necessarily safe states, but states that are not going to flip under virtually any circumstance. And, then you could put in the incumbent parties for your state. Nevada's a Democratic incumbent, Arizona is, Georgia is, and New Hampshire is. Republicans have got Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. So that puts it at 50-50. Now, I'd put Arizona lean Democrat. I'd put Nevada lean Democrat. I'd put Georgia tilt Democrat. I'd put North Carolina lean Democrat. I'd probably put Pennsylvania tilt Democrat. And I'd put New Hampshire probably lean Republican with Sununu running. Now, really, in this scenario, it would come down to Wisconsin. Republicans wouldn't have the majority regardless, but it would, shift things a lot in their favor, because Democrats would not have to rely on someone like Joe Manchin as much. So, say in this scenario you put Wisconsin as tilt Republican, that keeps it at a 50-50 Senate. But if Democrats win the state of Wisconsin, they would actually gain seats in the Senate. If they have a very good year overall, they could win New Hampshire and Wisconsin, which would prove to be a net gain of 2, and I think this would prove to be a very good year for them overall. But, my overall rating of Wisconsin at this time would be a lean Republican. I think it is a lean Republican state because, number one, we don't know whether Ron Johnson's going to run again. It's going to be much more difficult, in my opinion, to beat Ron Johnson than it will be to beat, a Republican in an open seat. As much as Ron Johnson, you can say may not fit the, the overall politics of the state because he is quite far to the right, I think it's still going to be very difficult to beat him. Ron Johnson, won in 2016 running ahead of Trump because of his strength in the suburbs. And I think, if you're a Democrat running in 2022, you're going to have to get that strength in the suburbs, similar to what Joe Biden got. Sure, you can do better in the driftless area, especially if you run someone like Ron Kind, who ran many points ahead of Joe Biden, actually went uncontested in 2016, won by 20 points in 2018, and a seat that Trump won in 2016 and 2020 actually trended towards Trump. This is an area that we thought Biden would improve in a lot, but he ended up not improving, and improving rather in the WOW counties. So if you're a Democrat running in this seat, you've got to get similar strength to Joe Biden in the WOW counties, and you've also got to get good enough numbers in this, Wisconsin's 3rd district area. Because you look at these 3 counties, these are counties that have gone to Democrats historically. Barack Obama won them in 2012 and 2008, of course. Tony Evers even won them in 2018. We can go back to the governor race in 2018, and he only won by 1.1 percentage points, but he won virtually all of these driftless area counties. And if we go to the Senate race, Tammy Baldwin on all of them, and she did worse than Joe Biden did in the WOW counties, despite the fact that she won by over 10 percentage points, because it really shows you, the areas where historically Democrats have done well, the people that have been around for a while are still going to do well in those areas. But if you have an open seat, I think Democrats can get the advantages of both the trends that they've seen in the WOW counties, as well as, maybe keeping some of that ground that they've lost in the Driftless area. And I think the best candidate at this point that I think could run for the Democratic Party would be Ron Kind. Ron Kind, is a representative, as I point out, from Wisconsin's 3rd congressional district, a district that Trump won. Sarah Godlewski, I think, could be another good candidate. She won by around 4 percentage points in 2018, but her name recognition, I'm not really sure what it is. I think that she, maybe it's a little bit lower, but she did win by quite a little bit in 2018. Of course, that was a blue wave year. 2022 is going to be a different story, but I think that either of these candidates could be good candidates. Mandela Barnes, who is the lieutenant governor, I think could also be a good candidate. Josh Kaul maybe could be a good candidate, because Democrats have all of these statewide elected seats in Wisconsin. They actually flipped them in 2018, so that does give them a pretty strong bench, but we'll see who ends up running. I think it'll be very interesting to see, but as of right now, I'm going to put this race as lean Republican to contribute to my overall 50-50 Senate prediction, which I will update as soon as I can. So thank you all for watching this video. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also follow me on Twitter and join the Discord. Those are both linked down in the description. But again, guys, thank you all for watching this video, and I will see you guys later.